We call it INNOjector, and I think he would be one of the best person to introduce this to everyone here. So thank you, Dr. Kim, for coming along, and I'll hand this over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's my honor to have introduced this new project to the Umaki microjet devices developed for the drug delivery system. This is our campus in Seoul. And this is the right side is of our R&D center, and then this is our campus. We have a Seoul campus and the south area. And the right side is our university hospital, and the left building is our R&D center. The ninth floor is our research building for the dermatology section. So our mother company is called the Doosan, is a official Olympic sponsor, and last year our baseball team has won the Korean Series championship last year, and we have the global market share #1 in seawater desalinization and nuclear power plant and energy supplier construction. That the Bobcat is also belong to our Doosan Brothers company. And thankfully, the CP Group in Thailand and the Doosan has jointly have a new investment in China for developing in Shanghai. We're going to have another hospital in Shanghai in China soon with the cooperative working with the CP Group soon and department store and construction. Well, this study was funded by the One in Harmony Hong Kong, so American Pacific R&D Center in Korea, as Ministry of our government, by including education and health and welfare. There are a lot of skin remodeling devices have been produced in the market, including the HIFE and the radio frequency systems and the DVH system. But today we would like to introduce about INNOjector, the new device of technology. Several trials using this kind of pneumatic technology has been introduced into the market a couple of years ago, but unfortunately, too large orifice and the too weak penetration forces become one of the obstacles to apply in Asian skin. Some of the longer downtime and the pH issue, especially for the hand dorsum or the other area. And this pneumatic technology is created from the inside with a penetration into the whole side with less than 150 micrometer is the key technology to produce the one. The meso solution, a normal saline, or the other applicator can be applied inside of it to generate a new collagen synthesis. When it compared to the previous version, including the AirJet or AirGent, we already have tested some models and more than 50 copies of the AirGent, or including the previous version, was sold in Korea, but unfortunately there has some limitations for relatively weak spreading pattern, which means a small vortex-shaped one, and the spreading pattern is slightly weaker, and too large penetration holes seems to be residing a couple of months of pHs at the orifice site. And lower downtime and the limited syringe types of solution, because depending on the patient cases, we have to apply 5 milliliter, 10 milliliter, the different types of the syringes should be applied. But unfortunately, the only available syringes were already fixed. The physicians cannot change them. The bleeding and bruising and the too slow machine speed has been a problem. And current INNOjector created the smallest penetration hole size is creating around 100 to 150 depending on the energy level and the volume of distribution. And the third factor is the viscosity of the solution itself. But in case of the saline application with the medium power, with the medium volume penetration, it created the world's the smallest penetration hole size in the world. It created an even spreading pattern, a fine vertical shape, and true microbubble substitution effect too. And rapid treatment became around 20 to 40 shots per minute, and no massages required. A mix of it around 1 to 2% lidocaine to minimize post-treatment headache or the post-treatment pain. It can mix up around 1 or 2% of the lidocaine, around 10%. The first introduction is the concept of it. Well, clinical result of skin remodeling is this novel pneumatic technology has been reported in the Western countries. Because some of the loosening the jawline and the neckline, and especially the double chin correction, there has been applicators including pneumatic technologies has been introduced into the Western countries. But unfortunately, too higher penetration hole and sometimes it become an obstacle in applications in Asian skin. The concept is that after the injection, this kind of vortex will have a stimulating the fibroblast activation. Just like in congenital melanocytic nevus, we can insert the small ball inside of the proximal and the distal of it, and then as time goes by, we can slowly these ball sizes about slowly, and then we can gain additional skin. We can make an after excision. We can connecting them together. This is which means just like if our bellies become larger and larger and more fattier, our outer surface of the skin will have the capacity to extensively increase it in a portion of the fat. We can also combine it with the normoxaline or other hyaluronic acid components or other concerning those different types of meso solutions too. In case of the hyaluronic acid, when it inserted into the skin, they have a capacity to holding more than 8 molecules of the water contents surrounding the tissue. And this has been also play a role for the swelling of the tissues and fine wrinkles together. And hyaluronic acid, without cross-linking, they have a capacity to facilitate wound healing. They have published into the dermal surgery. In case of Josta scar in the forehead, it's very difficult to treat by the surgical treatment because we have to avoid the elevation of the right eyebrows to minimize this one. We can insert the hyaluronic acid without cross-linking with the pneumatic technology and creating a bow line. And the finalized step will be treated by the Vivian Perfecta or the other devices, or the central transcutaneous radiofrequency acceleration is the final steps. In case of the neck lines, the neck wrinkles can be penetrated to creating the beautiful folds into the line around here. And then the patient have to endure around 1 week of the swelling at the initial site. But after the final outcomes is better because our laser cannot penetrate too much energy into it, especially the summertime. If the pressure is too low, unfortunately, most of the leakage will be one of the problem. And the correct pressure is a fine bleaching in the epidermis with our correct energy deliberation. Too higher pressure is just more like the syringe type. We don't expect the syringe penetration. While our expectation is focused into the correct pressure with the fine bleaching patterns and creating a spreading pattern and evenly from the upper dermis to the subcutaneous level to the fine, and each particle microbubble size should be even or within the standard deviation. When you compare to the conventional CO2 laser, they have a columnar coagulation balls around here, and then in case of an Irving glass Fraxel laser, the microepithelial necrotic pattern is debris is creating the upper side, and which become one other obstacle for the drug delivery system. Microlacerated column is seen on a microneedle, and in modern technology creating a fine holes with a pneumoglycan column around the hole. After the treatment, you can see the activation of vasculature and the modeling of the treatment. In case of human skin, too low energy pressure creating a bulla or blister. This is not our expectation. Our expectation is to find a spreading pattern from the upper to the lower dermis evenly from the upside down to the lateral adjacent tissues. In case of the dermal Z, when compared to the classical version of the AirZen, too high pressure created too central concentration is the same. This is our expectation is a perpendicular, just a needle-like shape, but in human skin, we have contraction forces. residing. So this is we can see there's some serpentile of the longitudinal section of the dermal that seems to be decreasing, and the focusing will be more around the 90% focused into the center. And a transverse section from in a human skin, we have to see too much high penetration into the center. It is not our expectation. What we want to do is creation of a fine vortex with a minimum concentration in the center. Adjacent spread into the around the tissue is our prime target. The current focusing center is a pneumatic vortex technology. It's focusing around the 30 to 40% of the concentration. The needle type of syringe is just focusing center around 70 to 8%, depending on the microcolumn or particle sizes and the viscosity. In case of human skin, you can apply it into the second skin. And the merits of this machine has been evolved, and some of the demerits of the previous classical version of the treatment. They can provide the needleless type and multi-needle type. So we can apply for multi-needle and without needleless type. In most of the classical version of the drug delivery system using mesotherapy, they apply some suction tubes, but in this machine does not require any suction tubes because there's no any requested for the negative pressure is not applied in here because there's a full enough expected saline power is delivered here. And the shot counts is counted automatically, and the syringe type you can change it from 1 milliliter, even 20 milliliter, depending on the physician's preferences. And selection process and the level of the penetration and power energy can be adjusted. When you compare to the classical version, injection volume is depend from starting from the 15 microliter to 200 microliter. Syringe type can be diverse from 1 milliliter to more, even 20 milliliter. You can fix it. And shooting type of this therapy can be seen. When you compare to the other devices, multi-needle mode and needle mode. Sorry. The classical version of creating the central center, and this multi-needle type of mold presenting shooting like a shot. When you compare to the conventional needling in a microneedle shape, they can create fine holes in the center that also serve the different problem. Mechanism of the INNOjector and creating a vortex shape is the key technology of this machine. And INNOjector have to stimulate the new collagen-genesis and elastic fiber reorganization. And another second is it can be also applied for the drug delivery. But mechanical activation mechanism itself, they can play a role for it by even in a cell line, they can create a wrinkle free and the lifting, and it can be applied for this scar revision. It is a relatively controlled wound killing. If it can be applied into the scar site or wrinkle site, they can stimulate the collagen synthesis. At the scar site, you can see there's some perpendicular shape of the long strand line when compared to the other wrinkles. They have a weak resistance density when compared to the normal skin. So if you apply for the multiple shot in here, in normal skin they can create a vortex of the round side, but in a scar tissue they can penetrate into the scar site because the resistance of the skin is relatively lower than compared to the skin. And after the treatment, you can see there's some spiral, like a storm-like pattern of the pressure delivery system is created, just like you have seen in the previous video. I think, is it okay with the echo? Echo is okay. Thank you. It is does not require any suction system and leaving very small bleaching and less bleeding compared to the suction type of negative pressure of the drug delivery system. Usually the suction type of bleeding have a relatively created on larger holes, and the bleeding and the bruising is relatively slightly larger. When it compared to the classical version, INNOjector created the less bleeding and slight bleaching into the upper dermis. And this is a simple difference in comparison of the multi-needle system, shooting like a shotgun type and penetration more deeper penetration is can be created. And conventional DDS is a non-shooting type, which means the pushing forces by the motor power itself with the negative pressure is a losing and regurgitation of the solution can be one of the limitation of it in delivery system. INNOjector presenting 4 needles and 31 gauge needle arrangement. Internal diameter is around 124-25 micrometer. And if it compared to the classical version, they have less bruising and less bleeding is one of the merits of this multi-needle type. INNOjector created a very, when you apply to the, compared with the Mutil-injector by the Restylane, INNOjector created a very fine bleaching line and less bleeding when compared to the Mutil-injector in the skin. Our preclinical trial is accepted and impressed in European Journal of Pharmaceutics and Pharmaceutics. So it is already published in the online publication. The DOI number is already designated, so you can approach them and by the internet. Our precise intro is we have tested into the needleless mode from the different level. If you're delivering same volume of the microbubbling, if you're penetrating with a lower energy, penetrator hole size is more smaller. If you're penetrating more higher power with a larger volume, penetration hole size is slightly larger, but their penetration depth and the spreading cranial vortex is more superior when compared to the volume level 1. And in cadaveric human skin, they can penetrate deep down to the periosteum, and they can reach into the supraperiosteum, which means if you're shooting on the scalp, they can penetrate into the bony side, especially the aged person and the female sometimes may complain about the headaches. So you have to tower down and the energy level and you apply this one. So especially if you're applying around the head area, I would like to recommend you to mix up with the 1 or 2% of lidocaine mixture to minimize this post-treatment headaches or the other issues. They can reach in from the level 1 into the supraperiosteum, and level 10 as maximum penetration and the creation and tearing of the around the muscles, slight muscles around the muscle area too. We tested into the micro peaks and the guinea pigs too, and they can confirm by the safe energy deliberation. And INNOjector micro hole size is the inner diameter with the smallest volume, smallest energy power is around the 100 micrometer, but usually about the medium volume with the medium power energy deliberation, its orifice size is around 150 to 150 to the 160, depending on the patient's the skin characteristics and our technical. So anyways, it's the smallest pinhole sizes. And if you're tearing off the pattern, it's really important because if you're tearing down into the ground area, some of the pH and the scar will be remaining as a very brutally. But if you're the laceration or the surgical scar clearing curve side is relatively clear when compared to the classical version, which means the energy deliberation should be focused into the center. When you compare to the penetration test, we can reach even around the back side we can apply around the 20% polyacryl line, they can penetrate it. And with smaller orifice size with the creation of the true vortex and skin is the key technology. When you compare to the 18 gauges around the 1.2 millimeter, they can create a bruising. If you compare it to the intact normal skin, 0.5 millimeter of the length of this type microneedle created a bruising pattern, and even 31 gauges of my needle created bruising and have a penetration to the microvasculature. You can see when you compare to the classical fusion, they have been compatible with around 18 gauges of needle penetration. This is a multi-needle also creating beautiful penetration from the upside to down. And after the treatment, you can see there's some thickening of the epidermal dome and dermal consumption and rearrangement and dermal swelling. And after the decreation of the collagen can be seen. And pictorial sinus red staining in presenting and compared to the conventional treatment is better than the substitution effective.